Uma was uh, kind of super excited, and with the senior leaders who are sitting here have come to discuss on the budget. Welcome all. This is Raj from Agri Consulting. I'm happy that this is the first time integrated post-budget discussion is happening. And I thank you so much. Less than 2 days back, when I texted all of you and requested you're all here. So we'll discuss. Unfortunately, when I also texted Uma about this is happening, and thank you, Uma, for accepting the invitation, coming so quickly. Which I said, Raj, this is something very different and all integrated approach of agriculture is coming. And she was happy to be associated with this event. So friends, you know, Agri Consulting is into consulting, and we also do knowledge conferences. So probably this is a very unique knowledge conference we are going to have today. It's more like, you know, a discussion happening on the post-budget analysis. And today, if you have seen, Honorable Finance Minister has invested or spent almost 10 minutes on agriculture, on various aspects. So it looks right from like what we call Dhanadhanya scheme to Atmanirbhar pulses to vegetables and fruits, focusing on that. So I invite Uma, the executive editor of NDTV, to please take over from here, and the whole panel is here. I thank quickly to introduce. I have, of course, Uma introduced executive director of NDTV. I have Shekar, Reddy, the founder and managing director of 24 Lettered Mantra, the Sresta. I have Santosh, the managing director of Agrimore. Dr. Reddy, a veteran in Agri Input, Bioaesthetics MD. Mr. Subba Reddy, vice president of Coromandel. Mohan Babu, the chief operating officer for India, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka for Bayer. Mr. Gopala Krishna, the CEO of Fertis, and Venkat Ramasan for the managing director of Seedworks. If you see the panel here is to discuss from each one of the verticals, not only in the agri inputs facilities, but also from the marketing linkages point of view. So let's see what it comes out. And I once again thank NDTV to partner with Agri Consulting to take this forward. And this discussion would be uploaded on NDTV. We'll surely share you the link once that happens at the end of the day. Over to you, Uma.
It's one of the mics will have to be very good afternoon to all of you. Sorry for the delay that you that you all had to sit through. It's because it's obviously a very technical subject, and all of them are technical experts, and therefore we needed to do this. So what we are going to do is actually do a recording for NDTV that gets carried on the channel itself. So that is something that we will do first. And that format is that I will put a mic and direct some questions, and they pass on the mic and they answer, take questions, and then first make initial comments, and then we do the questions directed to each of them.
Right, ready.
So we could start like that. So I would only request you to keep your cell phones on mute or not ringing at that time, because the audio will catch. You could probably put your cell phones on mute. That way, all of you are subject experts. I'm sure you don't need anything like I do.
Hello. Go all right.
Check one.
Okay, fine. But we go center only one.
Yeah.
Just 26. Oh my God.
Pass on like that, and then we can start. Yeah. Thank you. Pass on.
This is the far. Yes.
Hello and welcome to this special show on NDTV. We are focusing on the agriculture sector, what's Nirmala Sitharaman, done for the farmers, done for crop productivity, done for crop insurance, and of course, all the industry that is related to agriculture and allied industries as well. I have with me, in fact, industry leaders across the sector, and I'm going to first ask you for your initial comments on what Nirmala Sitharaman has presented today.
Yeah, it seems a very positive budget towards agriculture. And so notably, if I talk about biotechnology and also its application for agriculture. So most of her speech talks about the sustainability and resilience, etc. But here, agri-biotech is really allocated good funding. So around 2,000 crores, that is first of its kind. And at the same time, there are several other focuses like innovation fund, there's a new creation, and also sustainable research, and also soil health. So these are the very, very important initiatives by the central government.
Yeah, budget looks like positive and pro-agriculture budget. It's large informed 10 minutes on agriculture. But long way to go to make farming profitable and sustainable. I'll be talking on the farming sustainable and profitable as well as crop protection chemicals requirement. The India as well as agriculture.
Food and health, both big passions. Mr. Shekar, what's your take? You need a leading the organic chain, food chain.
So one I think is government's continued focus on sustainable agriculture. We call natural farming. We want to convert about 1 crore farmers in the next 2 years. So that is one focus I think which will stand in good stead. Second, we are deficient in pulses and oil seeds. So the mission on pulses and oil seeds is extremely important. It may not be 100% self-sufficient, but to the extent possible, those 3 things I think for me is complete.
Compliments to the Finance Minister and the Government of India. This budget addresses some of the critical issues which we have been grappling with. One is the cotton technology mission. As all of you know, the textile industry is one of the biggest employers, and the input for them is cotton. And today, at the current productivity levels, I think we have a significant gap between, the million bales, what would it require, roughly around 47 to what we have. So the technology mission on cotton is a welcome development. The national mission on high yielding varieties is the second biggest positive development. And the third one is where, the finance minister spoke about Gene Bank, which is extremely critical. So these are the 3 things take away from the senior minister.
Thank you. I see this particular budget is very different from the earlier budgets because there are something new, innovative initiatives are there. Let me list 3 or 4. Number 1, the use of Center for Excellence for Artificial Intelligence, which agriculture has been included, besides health and education. And this is a good initiative to start with, using artificial intelligence. And number 2 is that the private sector research. First time they provided 20,000 crores. Of course, maybe for not only agriculture, maybe others. But they said they will encourage private sector research and innovation. This is an excellent move towards the growth, which all developing countries could do. And number 3 is now first time I see very specific focused approach to develop certain regions. 100 districts were picked up, and they covered virtually every aspect of agriculture, including market linkages. And they say 100 districts they demonstrate and show how exactly the country can go forward. This is both agriculture and rural development. I think like that there are some innovative skills.
Thanks, Subba, for asking this. I think you can see already optimism in the air. For me, it is very clear that it's a precise budget for agriculture and very, very optimistic. For 3 reasons. One, you could clearly hear that there is a huge money has been earmarked for the budget, in the budget for agriculture R&D, which is a need of the hour, right? Secondly, they also talked about how and where to develop, which is very, very clear and critical for agriculture today, because it's not a generalized statement. What she said is 100 districts precisely which are low yielding, low productivity. So it will be very good for industry also to come together to join hands to build up the return on investment from these low yielding districts. Third piece, which I really look at, is the way she spoke about locomotive. She said, I mean, she was not hiding or she was not sugarcoating the words. She said agriculture is the engine for the growth of GDP. And that's where I feel she was very, very directive. And clearly she mentioned the topics, and I feel it's very good for all of us.
It's a very proud good moment, and we thank the finance minister because our culture being the agriculture. She stated that out of the 10 engines, the agriculture engine is the most important to take this country forward. And second important thing, what she said that the India is going to be a world food basket. It means the perspective of the government is going to ensure the productivity and prosperity of the farming community of this country. And we also see the Kisan credit card limit enhancing from 3 lakh to 5 lakhs. It means the farmer need not to depend on the private vendor for his money whenever he needs. And it gives a lot of confidence to the farmer to get the right inputs, quality inputs in time at a subsidized interest rate. We welcome this budget.
So very often we talk about the largest number of people depending on agriculture for their livelihood, and yet it's not able to add up in terms of the GDP. It's not adding to the numbers. And you said that's probably the big shift that is there in this budget, talking about it being a locomotive for driving the GDP, which really means that you're putting it in a proactive kind of a position where it's going to drive the growth itself. Dr. Venkatram, I'm coming to you. The finance minister talked about, you mentioned the cotton mission productivity. She also spoke about the mission for the pulses, the 6-year mission for pulses, and she also spoke about high-yielding varieties and the gene bank. How critical are all these going to be in terms of translating what we see on the ground? Because what we do know is that this is a sector where you are always reporting distress. Of course, there are big numbers in terms of productivity, yes, but the human face of it becomes the farmer is someone who needs support from the government.
Yeah, I think this is a very important interventions, at least which have been spelled out, because seed is what it would like impact the overall productivity. The cotton mission, to put some numbers in perspective, as I told, we are 45 million bales is what the textile industry will need. And the textile industry would grow, obviously, I mean, as per the government estimates, 10x to what it is now at this point of time. And it is the second largest employer after agriculture. So cotton, the seed, if it is actually, not driven, and if those productivity levels are not addressed, then that is a similar kind of a distress what we see. So the technology mission on cotton, which she spoke about, and she also spoke about the extra long staple variety and all. There are 2 or 3 interventions which are critical there. The low productivity districts which are being talked about, there is currently a mission which is on. Probably those districts will get integrated.
As part of the aspirational
as
district
part
for
of the,
NDTV,
yeah, absolutely. The second one, which is very critical, is there has been some bit of a technology impasse as far as cotton is concerned. There are technologies which are existing in private. There are technologies which are there in the public sector, which are due for commercialization. I think probably we'll have to give it a push, and then we would see the productivity improving significantly apart from economy, and the other aspects. So I think cotton, if it is addressed, because India, the cotton is grown on 12 million hectares, and then it actually impacts multiple other, the downstream industries like that. The second one is higher.
Cotton associated with all the wealth creation in many cases, and also the distress action.
Exactly. And the whole textile industry employs, the second biggest employer after agriculture is textile. Now the second one is this whole high-yielding seeds. And this, everybody knows about it. India ranks very low in productivity. I'm talking about a per acre productivity across most of the crops, barring pearl millets, where we are actually better than the global average. So one of the fundamental issues is to ensure that there are high-yielding varieties which are available to the farmer, either through public sector or private sector itself, and how do you make enabling policies to address this? To just give you some more numbers in perspective, the R&D investment, the Department of Agriculture Research and Extension spends around 10,000 crores, parts of the overall agriculture budget. which is around 0.5% of the gross value added agriculture. Typically, at least you should have 1% money which is spent on the R&D. But there is private sector which rough estimates are around 7 to 8%. So what we would say is that this 20,000 crores will have to go into more details, but encouraging private sector investment in research and development and building up enabling policies will actually go a long way.
Actually, the big takeaway, one of the big points that the finance minister made is what he's mentioning about 20,000 crore rupees in research and development, and that is in partnership with with the private sector as well. Mr. Gopal Krishna, one of course is research and development, that is very critical. Second aspect of it is also the market linkages, because that is something that once again is the reason for the distress in the community, the farming community.
I would agree with you. There was a target taken by Prime Minister that the income of the farmer has to be doubled. Income doesn't mean the revenue, it is a profit of the farmer should be doubled.
We are going to see it because that is something that for which deadlines were set but not met.
No, I think we are going to see it's not very difficult. I'll tell you how. See, basically, the farmer's problem is the price realization. At the time of sowing the crop, the price is very high, so everyone goes for the crop. At the time of harvesting, price drops so drastically. Then there is a stress here. This is happening for many commodities and frequently, almost every year. So, how the farmer will get profit out of that if you are not protecting the price? Now, one way of saying is that you give the minimum support price from the government, which is to some extent possible, not very much. Government also has got limitations. So the other way of doing it.
There's criticism that she never mentioned MSP, which is again a demand and legalizing of it.
So the other way of doing is you go more on a digital route. So now we talk so much use of artificial intelligence in all sectors, but we don't talk much on agriculture. Today, first time I say that she has included agriculture in the Center for Excellence for Artificial Intelligence. Now, how it is possible? I'll tell you the experience we have already, one success story. That is ENAM, Electronic National Agriculture Market. This is an e-commerce platform on which the commodities, agriculture commodities are traded across the country. This is there last 5 years. And then the result is already 3 lakh crores worth of commodities have been transacted on this platform. And the team has analyzed the data and they found the price realization of the farmers have gone up by 5 to 7% for different commodities. Okay, just by keeping the access, by keeping giving the more access to the market through electronic media, they are able to get the higher price. 5% is a very big increase in the profitability of the farm. Okay, so there a lot more can be done with analytics. Example, I'll tell you. What China does. China does is in the beginning of the season, they do the exact predictions. What is going to be the supply and demand, not only in the country, but also across the world. Basing on that, they predict what are the likely prices of the agricultural commodities. Basing on that, they decide what should be the acreage of each crop. Okay, and then they allocate the acreage to different provinces. And the population follow exactly what government has. 100% they follow. Discipline.
Mr. Mohan Babu, this one, sustainability you're talking about and price realization for the farmer. What is really going to be that method, you think? He spoke about having marketing linkages and also predicting like China does and therefore able to buy all the crop with the prices. But the kind of things that we have seen happening with climate playing truant all the time and supply demand never seem to match despite all the tech that we seem to have. What do you see as the game changer from this budget that could improve the lives of farmers and the industry?
I go for 2 points which Gopal Krishna has raised and as well as we spoke in the beginning comments. The first one is putting in clearly earmarking 20,000 crores for R&D needs. When R&D is good and you can segregate with the help of what kind of company which is spending more on R&D and companies which are not doing that. And that will segregate your good quality of seed coming in or even any other input coming in. of the organizations. Now that will help to the farmer to generate better productivity from the land that they are in. Now the second piece that I take from the budget is the way she spoke about this 100 districts with a very good passion. And I see a very critical point that they touched upon is the low productivity. She's not going for the high productivity areas. If you segregate the geographies today, seed growth or seed production areas are in the areas where the productivity is already high. Now, and everyone knows in the country that our seed production areas generate more revenue per acre. As Krishna said, it is not the production itself, but how much revenue you generate from the acre, right? So that's where she touched upon it. And I feel very strongly that if we go into this, create seed hubs, because why I'm saying seed hubs are very, very important. You go back 10, 20 years when IT hubs were created. And today we are a big engine for providing the IT specialists to the world. Now, if
The kind of biodiversity resource that we have in terms of seed wealth.
exactly. Now, if we work on it, we can create today, for example, India is exporting around 1 billion worth of seed, or 1% is what today in the total globe we export. Now, if we reach it to 10%, and we can do it by clearly earmarking these hubs. Now, 10% means 14 billion exports, right? The productivity is already high per acre.
So you see this as something that can be hinged on the seed hubs, which can become the one of the ways in which productivity and farmer income can
Can come up. And only thing in here, or only catch I see here, is how the infrastructure will be developed in and around these seed hubs, or in around these 100 districts, or some of the districts from this 100 part. Infrastructure means not only the roads and all, but we have to have some good storage facilities, closer to the dry ports we have to create. So these are the 2-3 things that if we do it perfectly, and I can tell you it's a matter of time that we can create double the.
One of the distress that farmers always mention to us, even pre-budget, when we go and speak to farmers, they speak about the availability of fertilizers, DAP, urea on time, not being able to source it, access it. Do you see anything in the budget that helps it? Of course, she has announced that in Assam we are going to have a new unit, 3 units that they reopened. Will that be able to take care of the anxiety and the distress of the farmers? Very often I see they panic when they don't get these.
We should appreciate, Madam, the government of India for the initiatives what they have taken. Even during the period of the Corona time, our farmers, government could able to supply the fertilizers through industry by giving the proper subsidy to on fertilizers. Now, as today also she has said that Northeastern state, where there is no fertilizer plant at this juncture, they are going to start urea the plant. Similarly, the gap, there is not going to be much, but please remember that majority of the raw materials required for the chemical fertilizers are being imported. Now, government of India is focusing how to improve the fertilizer use efficiency. How can we reduce our dependence on the other countries?
Was there anything on nano fertilizer?
They are now focusing, and industry is focusing in developing the alternative to the bulk fertilizers. The nano is one such technology. At present, nano is that if you are to talk in terms of our cell technology, it is at 1G, and the long way to go in the future. Definitely, the alternative fertilizers are going to emerge. Here I may appeal to the farming community, to extension industry is, please promote organic along with the chemical fertilizers. Chemical fertilizers and organics, they are not competitive with each other, rather they're complementary to each other. Chemical fertilizers are like biryani, organic manures are like curd rice. If we don't eat the curd rice, what happens to our stomach? It is happening to our soil. It is our social responsibility to promote soil testing, and we should promote judicious use of the fertilizers along with the organic.
Actually, one of the things that the finance minister mentioned was about 5 crore soil samples that they want in fact tested, because when we're talking about good crop, you talk about the seed, you talk about the plant health, you talk about the soil and its health as well. Dr. Reddy, this one, she spoke about 2,000 crores for biotechnology research. And also speaking about at a time when we are a little worried about youngsters moving away from agriculture, and when we even have the next generation of farmers, she's talking about bringing in trained, scientifically trained manpower or woman power into the farming community.
See, if you look at all the three streams are given equal weightage: on farm and off farm. On farm, we talk about genetically modified. There is a lot of thrust on it. There is a lot of budgets also allocated for improved varieties or hybrids, apart from the organic farming and also natural farming. This is one stream on farm. And off farm is, as you said, the rural youth or rural farmers are including the startup ecosystem. What we see here, there is a lot of allocations for startup ecosystem, especially in the research that goes into agriculture. The third one is about the manufacturing sector. They also announced like biomanufacturing. So biological, that means if you talk about soil health management, this 5 crore soil samples across the country is a huge number. So that they want to map fertility of the soils across various agroclimatic
fertility, is it? Suitability.
Soil fertility, yeah. So this 5 crore sample is not it's a ridiculous task, but I do not know how government is going to handle this with public-private partnership programs or standalone. But it can give an excellent idea that because soil is a very, very important what you call source, because even today 95% of what we consume is all comes from the soil. So including animals and humans all depends. And as said, we need to produce at least 70% more per acre to feed this growing population. We know the arable land is shrinking, but there is a lot of pressure on each of the soil. Therefore, we need to produce more. Therefore, soil health is very, very important critical component. Therefore, this especially the what you call these combining the science and research, what they are actually now flowing a lot of money, and also the training centers, what they are coming up, skill development, and the third one is on farm. All these things I think given equal weightage, and also it's a good feeling to the agriculture.
You know, when we talk about India 2047 and Viksit Bharat, we say demographic dividend is something that we must have. But where are all those youth from the rural hinterland going to find the jobs? And also, who is going to conduct agriculture, grow the crops? The minister very optimistically spoke about rural youth coming into agriculture. Do you see that happening in the future? Can it actually become an attractive option for the youth? Because whenever I travel in rural India, everyone says, no, my son will not do this. My daughter will not marry a farmer even.
Yeah. A long way to go. I'm son of farmer. I've studied agriculture, but I'm not into farming. I'm into farming, but not seriously into farming. Because agriculture is not profitable as of now. Whatever we have been talking about, positive buzz about this budget or previous budgets or coming budgets. If those days to now, there was food shortage in this country to feed the maybe 30-40 crore population. Now we are self-sufficient for 150 crore population also. But until we make agriculture profitable, farmer may not continue farming, farmer son may not come to agriculture, and Prime Minister, Finance Minister was talking about retaining the youth, rural women. It is possible by scaling up. And it is possible when you make farming profitable. Atmanirbhar Bharat. We have been talking this from COVID time. As India or Bharat, we have realized that something is Atmanirbhar Bharat is required. From those days, during COVID days, except pharma industry, the only industry which worked is agriculture. 365 days without fearing for the mask or without fearing for the virus and all. Now we are talking about cotton mission. We are talking about under districts. We are talking about whatnot, oil seeds, pulses. Because we realize now, policymakers or government realize these are the issues to be addressed. But we have to address the other side of it. When we produce where no productivity is not a problem, production is not a problem. We have to see that how best we can get better profit to the farmer, what he is producing as of now. Now we have been talking about oil seeds, we have been promoting oil farm and all. After 10 years, 15 years, if he is losing his life, if he is not able to get the profit, profitability, how government, because this agriculture is a state subject. All the stakeholders here and the state and central all put together, they should see all these policies and budget, whatever is announced. That should go long way to make the agriculture profitable. For this, as I told, they need proper quality inputs at the right time. At the same time, no, they can produce more and more. Whatever you want, will produce as a farmer. But valuation is required. At the same time, no, where they have to market. Poor farmer, they produce and whatever number of days, either 90 days crop or 30 days crop or 180 days crop. When he goes to the market, he's at the mercy of the middlemen. So we all stakeholders and governments put together there to think where a farmer can market as previously told. Yeah, all these things and proper forecast need to be there. Now last year many farmers they gone for chilies. Now chilies prices are down for last 2 years. Now they are surprised. They are not putting any efforts to get more in. Let's say from the same acre, now we are talking we have to produce more, double or triple. Now farmers are not interested to put any inputs. So then we have to motivate them, we have to guide them, we have to
Post-harvest
post-harvest
technologies.
technology. Now we are talking about all other things, but it is only possible when farmer is able to decide his price, farmer is able to market his produce at his desired price for his requirement or his balance sheet. All of us sitting here, we are looking at the balance sheet, but at the same time, I am from crop production chemical industry. In crop production chemical industry also, if you see China, they supported massive chemical raw material production and they have been exporting across globe. And we have been talking and not much done as of now. But if government or government partnership with private people, if government invests mostly into the raw material production or chemical production, there is lot of export potential for crop production chemicals. We are almost like our domestic consumption, we are 2 to 3 times we have been exporting during last 2-3 years only. Export market is favorable for us, and then our dollar is increasing. Then government should support for the crop production chemicals by massive production with government and private partnership. We can expect both crop production chemical as well as agri product.
Let me bring in Mr. Shekar. He spoke about value addition to crops, not just as commodities, but as value added crop, branded products like you do in 24 mantra. What Mr. Mohan also spoke about, that agriculture becomes now a locomotive for growth or a driver for the GDP instead of saying that it requires subsidy. We're always talking about agriculture subsidy or loan waivers and so on and so forth. What do you see as the takeaways from this budget in terms of what it offers you to for export potential for the industry and for making for the farmer also much more newer markets? Productivity, if it is not a problem, and we produce more than what we are consuming, what is the way forward and what are the takeaways for you from this budget?
Today she talked about 2 growth drivers. One is agriculture and second is exports. And these are interlinked because today of the 400 billion merchandise exports we do, agriculture contributes almost 12%. So it's not small. And of course, a lot of times this gets affected because of our domestic policies, frequent banning, etc. And we also know today one of the reasons why the farmers are not able to realize the right price, and also there's so much clamor for MSP for everything, guaranteed as a law, etc. Primarily because there's excess production, and we are not able to consume many of those. Few years there could be shortfalls, etc. So I think one of the ways is obviously how do we develop a robust export market for our products. In fact, India today produces almost 14-15% of the world's CD production. So it's not a small thing. So how do we tap this opportunity? One is making sure that the policy is consistent. We don't resort to these bans, etc. Because we develop markets and then 2 years you're out of the market, then you have to start from zero. And to that extent, foreign buyers don't trust us. So, and I think Santosh also talked about farming not being profitable. One way is make sure that we have this export market here I think basically we have to work on, one is changing the composition of export basket. A lot of it is rice. And when we export a lot of rice, we also export a lot of water, which is always in short supply. In fact, world, there are hardly 4 or 5% of water is fresh water, balance is all which you can't use. And that's something we can't afford to use. So one is that. Second is, if we have to really export, then we have to develop a robust food processing industry. And I think some efforts have been done, but still not enough. We need to go along. And the fourth part is the quality and food safety. Because one is you produce what is required. And that's where I think you have engaged with the right kind of seeds, variety, etc. And food safety. Because I think today we use a lot of chemicals indiscriminately. And because of that, residues turn up. And then our post harvest infrastructure is pathetic. And a lot of times we face issue of, let's say, 1 week seed in 1 container getting rejected. So I think these are the investments which we need to make, which we need to lead. And once we do that, then we are developing not only the domestic market, but the alternative market, which perhaps will be more profitable for farmers to tap into. And that's where also, but when it comes to agriculture, so it's a concurrent circuit. There's only so much the central government can do. A lot of it is with the state governments. Like if you look at Andhra, last decade, agriculture growth has been about 10% plus. And overall, for India, it was about 5% plus. It's primarily because they encourage cultivation of horticulture crops and allied sectors.
It's also probably the biggest in ecological agriculture, isn't it?
Yes, I think because of the RISS program, they have been able to significantly reduce in many pockets the usage of chemicals, etc., which also in a way kind of creates a base for your IPM chilies, etc., which gets exported. So I think these are the things the state governments have a very important role to play. So I guess that's where I think some of the states which have been proactive, they have seen the results. And so that's something we need to push. And I think this focus on cereals we have to reduce. Because cereals today hardly constitute 20-25% of the overall agriculture and mallet sector production.
Did you hear anything about dryland agriculture today in terms of those crops? Maybe the fine detail.
I think, a lot was spoken about millets as a family. Then you have some of that soybeans is again, a dryland agriculture. Pulses to a large extent are dryland agriculture. So there are a lot of crops which are there, which can be grown on dryland. Now there are two things which, I would like to just talk about. One is the IP regime in our country is very loose. So a lot of innovation actually is not protected. And that is why there is no encouragement to do some kind of investment. Private sector operates in few crops. Why do they do it? They would like to operate in the other crops because of the IP enforcement and stuff like that. The public sector research is for the larger group and it is spread over, the 10,000 crores investment with Department of Agriculture Research and Extension, they do everything. So to that extent, what I would say, and I mean the budget did not speak about that, but I think the IP regime needs to be strengthened. Public-private partnership has to be there, and then government can't do everything on its own. And while we talk about public-private partnership, there is a lot which can be done. So the whole dryland agriculture, as well as any other aspects of agriculture, I would say that Indian agriculture is very resilient and there is a lot of tenacity in it. Private sector is wanting to invest, participate in the growth. Only thing is that we would require a lot of policy enablement and the clarity on this. So, I mean, I'm not looking at a doomsday this thing in agriculture. I'm optimistic, and then I think we will definitely get there. So these are some of my views.
Okay, so on an optimistic note, the challenges ahead, certainly the first few steps have been taken. Many of the panelists, of course, called this a very optimistic budget. Thank you very much for all your insights and value additions to our debate. But the road ahead certainly full of challenges still, with many of the panelists actually mentioning which are the areas where they would like to see more work done and more investment also brought in. That's it then on this special show. Thank you so much for watching.
ఇక్కడ